And now, tonight's episode of Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm just a caveman. I fell in some ice and later got thawed out by some of your scientists. Your world frightens and confuses me.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello and welcome back. We finally made it to episode 23. Bart gets hit by a car. It was episode number 7F10. It originally aired on January 10th of 1991, making it the first episode of the year. It was written by my favorite writer, John Swartzwelder, directed by Mark Kirkland, and the showrunners were Matt Groening, Sam Simon, and James L. Brooks. So at this point, the series has been running for a full year, and this is our very first episode that features Phil Hartman. And even if it didn't, we still have the first appearance of Dr. Nick in this one. But there's something about the addition of Phil Hartman that complemented this show so much that there was actually a noticeable difference after his death. And I'm not necessarily saying that's the reason why, but I definitely believe that the loss of Phil Hartman was a factor in the declining quality of the show. But there were also a lot of other factors, like the departure of John Swartzwelder, as well as the rise of political correctness and the emergence of all the woke brain constipation. So with all that out of the way, I think this is the best episode that had aired up to this point.
It's a good episode, as I recall. It's too bad this really isn't John Swartzwelder, though.
And yes, I know I said the exact same thing about the last two episodes, but it's just a case of 3 colossal episodes in a row. What can I say? Even though the ending of it is garbage, I still think this one has the previous 22 episodes beat. And it's mainly because of Phil Hartman and his Lionel Hutz character. But like I said earlier, we also have Dr. Nick. Plus we get another episode of Mr. Burns being a classic villain, which I always love. Not to mention all the dream sequences and the courtroom drama that's taking place. So how about we just get this commentary started?
Hey, this is Matt Groening.
This is Mark Kirkland. I directed this episode.
This is Mike Reese, one of the many producers on The Simpsons.
Over the years, it seems like we get more and more producers.
I literally think we're up to 38 producers now. And when The Simpsons wins an Emmy, they have to give us 38 statues, which is, I think, is always factored in against us at Emmy time.
I think there's more Simpson producers now than there were U.S. generals in the Second World War.
If you'd like to be a Simpsons producer, send your resume to P.O. Box 900, Beverly Hills, California. This is a really fun episode. This is another episode written by John Swartzwelder. First broadcast, January 10th, 1991. Bart gets hit by a car. I love this episode because this is, I believe, the first time we took Bart to hell. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah.
A lot of tricks and techniques in this one, especially right up front. It's very fun.
I worked on the devil design in this episode, and my first attempts were to make him big and scary, and basically, you'll see how he turned out. Sort of a cliche gag, but Swartzwelder only wrote in the script that Bart causes mischief on the street, so I sort of had to figure out business as I went.
For what it's worth, it's episode 23 is what the super said, and this was episode 23. And I just like the idea we pretend as if we had done this every single week, and maybe this is the first time you caught it.
And the last time they showed the name of an episode was at the beginning of The Telltale Head, but they didn't number it like this one.
I think the boy's hurt.
Hey, cool, I'm dead.
Please hold on to the handrail. Do not spit over the side. Por favor, aguántese en la veranda.
Am I wrong, guys? Is this the first time Phil Hartman did an episode with you guys?
I believe this is his first time.
That's him right there.
Yeah.
those were fun little caricatures to work out.
I didn't realize we ever showed Snowball 1.
Yeah.
That's good.
We told you to hold on to the handrail.
That's a really long pan there.
Maybe he must be there one day.
This is Hieronymus Bosch's
classic painting.
Howdy, stranger.
I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
I'm the devil.
So after all my hard work making a big scary devil, I was sort of asked by producers, you guys, to make him a little shrimpy comedic character, which fits his voice.
Yeah, it's pretty nerdy, sort of Ned Flanders voice.
Yeah.
And I guess years later we actually said Ned Flanders is Satan, right? And
What was it? In the Halloween episode.
Yeah.
It's always the person you least suspect, he says.
It's always the one you least suspect.
According to this, you're not due to arrive here until the next time the Yankees win the pennant. That's nearly a century from now. Boys, my face red.
Well, we're wrong on that one.
Yeah.
A bouncer to deep short. Jeter, long throw. Diving is Cow. But he can't get there in time, and the Yankees win the pennant.
Remember, lie, cheat, steal, and listen to heavy metal music.
Yes, sir.
So again, it's great Simpsons pacing. I think we're about a minute into the episode, and Bart's been hit by a car, he died, he's been in hell, and now he's coming back, and the show's just begun.
Storyboard artist Steve Moore designed this wonderful shot, included that little gag there of, that's Jacques from the bowling episode in the doctor's office, and the doctor's putting on a rubber glove.
He actually boxed us into a corner now where wherever we do a cutaway shot like that, we always think, all right, what's funny in the floorboards? What's funny? And it's like, oh, please. What a lot of work he's made for us over the years.
And you were there. And you, and you, and you.
And you, and you, and you. And you were there.
Oh,
You I've never seen before.
Lionel Hutz, attorney at law. Here's my card. It turns into a sponge when you put it in water.
Ooh, classy. First time we've seen Lionel Hutz. The first time we designed Lionel Hutz, he looked very evil. And then I got notes back saying, make him kind of, what I saw was a very, very bland-looking character, very ordinary. So I ended up picking, recommending that he wear a powder blue type suit, and it stuck.
Yeah, and I believe Lionel Hutz is a friend of John Swartzwelder, so I think the guy must really suffer now having that name.
Yeah, we'll talk about Homer Simpson. I got a letter once from a Mrs. Homer Simpson who was very angry because she and her husband could no longer order pizza. No one would deliver.
And there is a Homer Simpson working in a nuclear power plant in Georgia, I think.
Uh-oh.
You've ruined his life.
Hey, Simpson, I heard Mr. Burns crushed your boy.
Yeah. If I wasn't so spineless, I'd march into Mr. Burns' office right now and...
Simpson! Mr. Burns wants you to march into his office right now.
Uh-oh.
Love this writing.
Well, I certainly agree with that. The writing and the jokes in this episode are much snappier and more frequent compared to what we saw in season 1. And I'd actually say this episode in general shows that the writing staff got a huge power up. No time is being wasted here reminding us who Mr. Burns and Smithers are. Instead, they're filling that time with more jokes and story. The show has been on the air for over a year at this point, and we've been thoroughly introduced to many of the secondary characters now. Not to mention the fact that we're only about 5 minutes into this episode, and it's very surprising how many things have already happened. In fact, I'd say it's hard not to notice how much faster the pacing is compared to the previous 22 episodes.
Ah, Simpson, at last we meet.
It's nice to meet you too, sir.
Another great running gag.
So it isn't the first time Mr. Burns didn't recognize Homer, but it's the first time that it's obvious something is wrong with Mr. Burns, because the previous interaction he had with Homer was in the Simpson house. He met the entire family, so it's overtly deliberate this time.
Yes. My attorneys have advised me to pay you for running over your child, so I'm cutting you a check.
Now, the office for Mr. Burns, I heard this is based on the boss's office from The Natural. I think that's where the bear came in. Anyone back me up on this?
Don't know the history of that one. I do remember being asked to position the bear in an aggressive manner towards Homer.
Because I remember as we've been watching these shows, I haven't seen the bear up until this point.
I think the bear was very irritating to me because it was so distracting, and then it became a beloved part of the of the background, so it's always in.
So there is indeed a stuffed bear inside the owner's office in the movie The Natural, but I really have no idea if that's an intentional reference. But I do know that Mike Reiss is incorrect about this being its first appearance. The earliest episode in production order that features the bear is Homer's Odyssey, but it was also briefly seen in the series premiere as well. I guess Mike Reiss is just making things up since Al Jean isn't here to do it.
Tangle with me, and I'll crush you like a paper cup.
This is great. I love his satisfaction at crushing the cup.
Right in here, Mr. Simpson. Any calls, Della?
Calls? Oh, calls, yes. The Supreme Court called again. They need your help on some freedom thing.
Tell them to sit tight. I'll get back to them. This way, Mr. Simpson.
Doris Grau. What was Doris's job here?
She was a script supervisor. Her job was just to time takes and see how long the show was. And she just had this wonderful voice, and this was her voice.
That's her
and
natural
she earned
voice.
it with chain smoking, and everybody loved her. And through a whole career of script supervising, she was constantly winding up on TV shows. She's in movies, other animated shows, just because she's such a delight and she's such a natural, and you can't fake it.
Pardon me, am I mistaken, or did you used to work at the Hungry Heifer?
Sure, I work there.
Yeah?
Say, I know you. The girls there had a pet name for you.
What was that?
That guy who comes back.
Yeah, and she was really honest about whether she liked something or didn't. And she's pretty. I mean, she wasn't, insensitive. She was very diplomatic, but very refreshing with her attitudes. Very funny on the Tracy Ullman Show.
I promise you a big cash settlement. My fee is 50%.
50%?
So personal injury lawyers are notorious for selling you on 30% and then taking 50% in the end. This is usually because the clients don't ask for the agreement in writing and then read through it thoroughly so they can find all the hidden fees the lawyers won't talk about until the case is over. So if Lionel Hutz is saying 50% up front, he's probably going to take 65.
$1 million?
Whoa! Oh, I stand corrected. $1 million is A-okay.
It's a good little act break. I know you guys as writers work really hard on act breaks.
Yeah, and I'm not sure people know it at home. I wasn't aware until I became a TV writer when they were just throwing around the term act break that you at least wanted something big before you went to commercial to keep people tuned in. I swear, a lifetime of TV, you don't really pick up on that.
It's a bit of a hook to hold people to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
It's really hard in cartoons. I mean, all those great masterpieces of Warner Brothers cartoons just race along, and then the final joke is like, oh. It makes you very, very sad.
Bad news! Your son is a very sick boy. Just look at the x-rays.
First time we've seen Nick Riviera.
Yep, I know. We came up with the name in the room. It was just sort of, we created the character as we went along, and the voice was just Hank Azaria coming in, I think, doing kind of a bad Ricky Ricardo.
Yeah. More cracks in the plaster in the background. I was trying to make this office look pretty seedy. Fly by night.
$1 million? I want this Homer J. Simpson fired.
Think of the headlines.
Yeah?
Ooh. That's a great joke.
Those are fun little voiceovers. I think all added after the color came back, too.
Yep. There's something, we do it a little less now. I know in these early shows, was the idea we got to fill every minute with noise and not just music, and I think we weren't comfortable with just letting music take us along. So you'll hear a lot of those just on the back of people's heads or when people are reading things, just a lot of grunts and noises and lines jammed in there.
I'll bide my time. Let him twist in the wind, slowly, slowly. And then, when the papers have found their new flavor of the month,
You'll find out this cat has claws!
These scenes with Mr. Burns talking about his maniacal plans for the future are always accompanied by that same musical sting, and there have been many variations on it throughout the years. But I believe this is the first appearance of this running joke.
Can you roll your eyes back in your head like this?
Oh, you mean like I'm dead? Yeah, sure.
The kid's a pro.
In general, I've worked on animated TV shows before, mostly Saturday morning things, and there was no such thing as a rewrite in those. You know, pretty much what ended up on the air was the very first conception. When I got on The Simpsons, I saw all the different stages along the way of The Simpsons, every single production phase of animation, storyboarding, layout, animatic, comes back from color. You guys would run back, rewrite something, add a new line. We'd be redrawing scenes pretty much up to the last minute right before the show was aired. And I, as the director, would watch the show on television, and I'd still be seeing new lines that I never knew were going to be in the show.
Yeah, we'll see coming up in Act 3, the third chapter of the show, yet another technique thrown in using existing animation, sort of a last-minute idea just to help the drama a little. And again, this is something I think almost a lot of it came out of ignorance early on in the show, saying, you know, we really shouldn't be fiddling or fixing it after we've got full-color animation.
I think it's what makes the show great, though. It's a let's not stop making it funnier. And I respect it, and it's kind of a hardship on animation, but I realize this is why the show is great.
Springfield Municipal Court is now in session. Judge Moulton presiding.
And obviously this character was later renamed Judge Snyder, but for this episode his name is Judge Moulton.
Calling Bartholomew J. Simpson to the stand.
Oh, please.
Well, you know, I think for my part, back when it was on the Tracy Ullman show, I was told that I would have 2 minutes an episode to do some animation, and it got cut down to 15 seconds in 4 little segments, so totaling a minute. And I learned that you can jam a lot of visual information into 15 seconds. And so to begin with that knowledge, when the show turned into a series, then combining that with Jim Brooks's mission to make this thing emotionally resonant, and then brilliant writers adding joke after joke after joke, the thing started out fast and was incredibly funny, and then got funnier and faster as the seasons went on. I mean, that's the thing that amazed me. I mean, I can still see in this one of these relatively early episodes a slightly more leisurely pace. I mean, this thing rocks along, but man, starting in about, another dozen episodes, this thing gets so fast, it's unbelievable.
I don't often agree with Matt Groening, but I couldn't agree more with him on this statement. This episode is noticeably faster than everything that came before it. But as he said, in another dozen episodes, the pacing is going to get a lot faster. And what he's talking about is the beginning of season 3, when the show started improving in leaps and bounds.
Defenseless child at 3 o'clock.
So the story of the accident is told in the courtroom by using dream sequences. One flashback through the eyes of Bart, and the other through the eyes of Mr. Burns. And obviously these two dream sequences are going to be wildly different. And this is a very cliche television technique. But as cliche as it is, it just works, and it works really well.
Now that's believable testimony.
Oh, it was a beautiful day. The sun was shining. I was driving to the orphanage to pass out toys.
I love these flashbacks. I don't know how you guys felt about them, but
these are fantastic. They're so much fun. And again, I think at least in the next few years, more and more came in because they were just such a joy. I remember this was tremendous trouble clearing the song Spanish Flea by Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass. And finally, we went to Jay Cogan, whose godfather, I think, had written the song, and we had to... It was purely going through family lines that got us the song where legal clearances wouldn't do it.
The song was actually Tijuana Taxi, but they did use Spanish Flea in the season 3 episode, The Auto Show, which may be a dozen or more episodes away.
No! Take
take me! I'm old!
Even Smithers is pissed off. That's great.
They hate me? Well, what trial were you watching?
Now, as strange as it may sound, when I had this courtroom stuff to do, I pulled To Kill a Mockingbird and The Verdict, and I watched those on tape just to see what angles I could use.
Just get that big ape to my house tonight, and we'll buy him off with a banana or two!
I think that was added after as well. That gag of Homer can even hear them.
Oh, really?
I think. I'm not positive.
Funny. Was this the one, Burns' mansion? He's got this gigantic fireplace with a whole tree burning in it?
I don't think this one.
Oh, wait, that was on Family Guy.
I notice now the wine is purple. I don't know what happened there. But The Simpsons is its own surreal world, so as strange as yellow skin is, there can be purple wine, I suppose.
Yeah, this music, this is typical of the early Simpsons. Again, to keep just that wall of noise going. There's this, I think, distracting music going on in the background.
Funny that Burns would draw a little smiley face. It's so unlike him.
And I suppose the intention of the writers here is that $500,000 is indeed 50% of $1 million, which I guess you're meant to believe that Homer would get all $500,000 of that. But that's just not how things work. Lionel Hutz would still get his 50%, leaving Homer with $250,000.
Well, Marge, what do you think?
I don't know.
There's the log. It's a tree. Yeah.
The fish is in the pen.
This is fun.
That's great.
It's such an old movie cliche, and I think that the old cliches work so well on Simpsons.
The dog was a nice twist, and reflecting Smithers' character, all that.
There's humor in just the position that Burns and Smithers is. The idea was told to me to make Smithers look like he's mimicking the dog in the painting.
All this greediness and lying and shifty lawyers and phony doctors.
Phony doctors, hello.
Bart's medical bills and an apology.
And you won't even get that. Good day, Smithers release the hounds.
Now that's fast pacing.
Yeah.
Mrs. Homer J. Simpson.
So I know we've already seen this character several times, but this just seemed like the best time to point out that this is the first appearance of Mr. Burns' lawyer. And Mr. Burns has quite a few lawyers, but this is the only one whose name is actually Mr. Burns' lawyer.
Again, we've discussed Burns' lawyer, and that's the name of this character, Burns' lawyer, and he's based on Roy Cohn, Senator Joe McCarthy's lawyer, and that's Dan Castellaneta doing a dead-on impression of Roy Cohn.
For your conscientious public spirit in giving such great support to Joe McCarthy when he needs it most. When, if the United States Senate should take a vote of censure against this man who has led us in the fight against atheistic communism, the Senate will have been committing the blackest act in its entire history.
Somebody once told me the judge was based on Judge Bork.
It's Judge Bork, rejected Supreme Court nominee.
A very sweet guy.
This court heard expert testimony from one Dr. Nick Riviera.
All of these shots were taken from those courtroom movies.
Oh, great! Is that Bleeding Gums Murphy in the jury?
It well could be.
What is your opinion of him, Mrs. Simpson?
It's really getting into her face there.
So apparently during the commercial break, Mr. Burns' lawyer was cloned. And earlier I did say that he was the only one who was actually named Mr. Burns' lawyer. Well, I guess I was wrong.
Now that I think about it, I'm not sure he's even a doctor.
Like many of the best Simpsons, the plot is just stolen from a great movie. In this case, it's The Fortune Cookie, a terrific Billy Wilder movie that our young audience hasn't seen, and so it's
You're giving away all the secrets.
So there are a lot of similarities to the plot of The Fortune Cookie, but I'd say it's mostly just in the beginning of that film. Jack Lemmon gets injured while filming a football game, then wakes up in a hospital with his sleazy lawyer of a brother-in-law played by Walter Matthau. Matthau's character convinces him to pretend to be more injured than he really is. He even brings in a quack doctor similar to Dr. Nick. But that's pretty much where the similarities end, because the rest of the film focuses on the comedy of Jack Lemmon pretending to be in a wheelchair. And if I'm being honest, I've seen much better Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau films. This one drags on for over 2 hours and it's just not that funny. Whatever was lifted from that plot works much better in this Simpsons episode anyway.
Look how high up the judge is there. He's way high, judging down on them.
Could you put a dollar amount on all these hardships?
I like doing that with Marge's hair whenever I can. I try to use her hair expressively. When she's tired, I have it flop forward. Or one running gag that's been going on for years, and I still like to do it, is when Marge walks into a room, her hair actually hits a door frame and bounces a little bit. It's textural and matte. In the early days, I remember you saying to us, look for half gags. And you used to tell us, a smile is okay. If you get a smile out of an audience on a scene, it's still working.
Shoot low.
Shoot low.
Well, we pay Bart $5 a week to take out the trash.
$5? But your lawyer, assuming he is a lawyer, is asking for $1 million.
It's not quite as large as the last one, but I think you'll find it fair.
I think we should take it.
So for me, this is where the episode ends. The story is already over. All we need is a joke to go out on. Or possibly a bedroom conversation between Marge and Homer. But instead, we just sort of sink into this other story about Homer and Marge's marital problems. And if I'm being honest, this is usually where I skip forward to the next episode.
$1 million. My wife cost me $1 million.
From this point on is where a lot of work was done in post after the animation was locked.
Jim Brooks came in.
Jim Brooks came in and just felt the climax of the show lacked a little emotional resonance. And so there's an awful lot of just voiceover of Homer's thoughts. This was all added later. A lot of animation is frozen just to accommodate these lines. And it works to an extent, but there's some people might. I have to say we went overboard. He's just every 3 or 4 seconds, he's pondering.
You know, we never figured out how to do that painting in the dining room. That painting is boring.
Is it still there?
It's probably still there.
I guess you know what we decided is that if it was a gag, it would be featured too prominently.
Well, hello.
My name is Marge.
One-armed Herman in the bar. We don't use one-armed Herman very much anymore. He's sort
No.
of disappeared.
I'm not sure I love you anymore.
Oh, my Lord.
Of course, this discussion has to happen in public because of The Simpsons.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. These people are all drunk. And judging by the pupil size of Barney and the Barfly, I'd say those two guys have been eating shrooms. They're certainly not going to remember any of this tomorrow.
Homer, look at me.
Still angry. Good. Good, Homer, good. This is tough. Need refreshment. Oh, good old trustworthy beer. My love for you will never die.
Okay, the line I remember right here on the necklace was, "Oh, pearls, I've never noticed those before."
Oh, who am I kidding? I love you more than ever.
I love you, too.
Sorry to scare you like that, babe.
It's
Who
a
am I
touching
kidding?
ending. What?
I like, who am I kidding?
I just remember the writers being very upset, including John Swartzwelder, who wrote the episode, going, why does he love her more than ever? We're happy to see it. Their life goes on. But why does he love her more than ever?
That's the happy ending. That was my second episode, and my office was on a downstairs. I had a downstairs office, and my animation crew was one story above me, and I had to keep running up and down to my crew. Eventually, I just was exhausted, and I remember going to the doctor and saying, "What's wrong with me?" And he looked me over, and he said, "You have walking pneumonia." So I had done that show, or at least developed walking pneumonia during the making of that show.
Wow.
But still, and I remembered feeling at the time that it wasn't all it could have been animation-wise. I felt like I blew opportunities, and some of the animation looked thin to me in terms of detail. But I suppose it was like simply the best we had at the time that we could give.
Looks good to me.
A lot of people still come up to me and they mention that episode. Same with Dancing Homer in this. They remember the uniqueness of this. It was like they were catching into The Simpsons, and they love those flashbacks and stuff.
Despite the fact this episode is a product of walking pneumonia, and the fact that the ending is just terrible. Somehow this episode came out unbelievably great anyway. And if there's one thing I've learned from this show, is the fact that the ending rarely ever matters. Most of the time I don't even remember what the ending is until we get there. But I always remember this ending because of how terrible it is. And what a stark comparison it is to the rest of the episode. And I just can't help but wonder what John Swartzwelder's original ending was. And what the complaint was from James L. Brooks. My guess is it was just too funny, and Brooks really wanted another emotional ending. So he tried to force it, and in my opinion, it just didn't work. But regardless of how bad the ending is, this episode feels like a brief glimpse of Season 3. But I don't think it's the best episode in Season 2. There's still a few more episodes to go that are even better than this one. Also with much better endings. Speaking of which, I'm gonna move on to the next one, which is One Fish, Two Fish, Blowfish, Bluefish. And these videos are getting tougher and tougher to make, so I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to take, but I'll see you when it's done. Thanks for watching.